We are joined by Tim Vom Steeg after a 2-0 defeat in the 2024 Big West Men's Soccer Championship final. Coach, can you start us off with an opening statement, please?
Sure. I mean, that pretty much sums it all up. It's a 2-0 defeat at home in a game that if we win, we're in the tournament. And so obviously very, very disappointing. It's also our first loss at Harder Stadium. We had issues in the first half. As everybody knows, Pelig is our starting left back, and he was out. So we've had to play the last two games kind of rotating left backs. And then Andrew has been our starting right center back all season. And, 25 minutes into the game, his back he's been struggling with his back, and it finally just gave out on him. So he couldn't run anymore. So that kind of forced us to flip some things around. We brought Haruki in, and we didn't quite solve. The only solution I had at left back was to bring Caden over to this side of the field, which I think made it better. Probably should have done it earlier in the game in terms of, but we never got settled. We never, I thought that we would be able to possess the ball well enough to make it to where instead of us having to defend them, they would have to defend us, and we did not get a hold of the ball until we gave up. And of course, the second goal was, a minute and 30 seconds before we get into halftime. So I thought that was a really bad goal to give up. But after that, it's 17-7 in shots. It's 14-2 in shots in the second half. It's 10-3 in corners. But if you think about all the shots that we had, we didn't really make the goalkeeper have to make a save. So we stared at the goalie, and balls are bouncing across, and we just couldn't get anybody to put it on frame. And I think we all know what happens, in soccer, 2-0, you bury any of those balls, and then it starts to look like last year's game against Riverside, where we were down 2-0 at half and got the first goal, and then here comes the second one, and because I thought they were done, right? They're just defending and kind of hanging on, but we never got that goal, and we never got the ball on frame, and we just didn't finish. That's kind of the story. You give up two early goals, you don't get one back, and now you're kind of hoping some things happen your way so that you can still get a chance to keep playing.
Jim, do you feel like, I thought from the beginning of the game that your offense just wasn't settled, like 3 or 4 turnovers early in the game. What was going on with the offense? I know you had Manu back. It was his first time back since the Poly game.
Yeah. So that was a big concern of ours. It's one thing to have Manu back. It's another to ask a player to go play in a game like this, not having played for 6 weeks. He'd missed the last 8 games, 9 games, and so that's part one. The second part is I don't know, what it was necessarily. They came out in a 4-4-2. We just did not get on the ball, and I think the one thing and it's hard because what you really want to do is back them in a little bit, and then instead of trying for a cross or trying for a shot or trying for another through ball, once you get them backed in, that's your opportunity to just stay on the ball and move the ball around. And so every single time we broke through doesn't mean that we had to go forward. And so we got stuck, and it's hard because, as I said, I thought, we just made some really poor decisions on the ball up the field. So our offense didn't get going because when we did break them, we were a one-pass attack. It was a cross or the through ball, a cross and a through ball. And again, as you noted, I thought make no mistake about it, if I'm going to go and talk to the guys, just so we're clear, we lost midfield. Like, they picked up every single second ball off a head ball and faced us. And as I said, the answer to that was for us to keep the ball and put ourselves in a position to make them defend over long stretches of time. We just never did that. And consequently, now, why'd that happen? You fall behind 1-0, you get anxious, you start to run at the other team, you want to get your goal back, and we just didn't have it. And as I said, I thought the second half, obviously we walked in enough balls. We had 4 or 5 slip balls, and we just needed somebody to hit a ball hard on frame and get a rebound and get the goal. And there was 2-1, and now we get going, and that goal never came.
Did you guys make any tactical adjustments going to the second half, or was it just natural attrition?
No, we went to a 3-5-2 in the second half. We pushed 2 forwards. We pushed 2 guys out wide, and I thought that opened up the wider area. It gave us 2 forwards because I knew we'd get some crosses in the box. But, a game that screams Achava, which was the player that, a year ago got us the goal against Riverside to win that game. We just didn't get it from our strikers. Again, Alexis, I thought played his heart out, but never was the one that had the shot. It seemed to fall on someone else's foot, and so a little bit unlucky there. But in the end, as I said, we discussed not falling behind. We discussed playing into the first half. We discussed the fact that the longer this game goes on, the more we'll take over the game. And the problem is when we finally took over the game, we're down 2-0.
We know how good Casey Goodman is, but to see a guy like that post up twice, I mean, is that because of the defensive adjustments that you had to make? I mean, to see that happen to a team.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like, again, he got the ball twice facing the wrong direction, and then next thing you know, he's facing the right direction and he's kicking the ball in. So, yeah, I mean, if all I can say is if I was playing, that wouldn't have happened. But I'm 30 years removed from being on the field. But we didn't defend properly on those 2 instances. And yeah, I mean, anytime you get a forward who's able to go from a back to a goal to facing forward and shooting without really, I don't know if those are even much of a move. You just turned and shot it, and we never got in on it. And so that's why I'm saying that was disappointing. And then it was disappointing that we didn't get control of the ball until much later in the game. That's disappointing. And, all of that together, it's again, if this was a regular season game, you would say, we got to do better. Let's fix some things. Let's do some adjustments. As I said, games like this, I look at like Pele gives us an element of toughness at left back. Obviously, he's 2 red cards later. So, it's the small things is really what this game came down to. They made the 2 plays that mattered, and we had opportunities, and we didn't.
The big question now, I mean, you have a good record. Your RPI was pretty high. What do you have any chance of getting in?
Yeah, it's 50-50 for the simple reason that it all depends on kind of how the results fall this weekend. As we all know how this works, 24 teams automatically qualify, 24 teams. So you need the teams that have high RPIs to occupy most of the 24 spots. And championships are being decided this weekend. So you just need it to go that way in terms of 1 seeds winning the championship, and they were going to be in the tournament no matter what. You can't have upsets or avoid upsets. The one thing we have going for us, which is why our RPI has been high all season, is we've got, I think, 3 wins over teams that are top 30, top 40 RPI. So the first thing they look at when you're on the bubble is who have they beaten, and so the nod always goes to the team that's beaten people. So we've got some pretty big wins against teams in the top 25, 30 RPI. So hopefully it comes down to that, and maybe we're the last team in. But again, the fact that we're having to wait on Monday to see if we get in is on us, to be honest.
Coach.
Yes.
Vasily, such a key piece of this Gauchos team all season. Can I ask the rationale for starting him so late? Why not a bit earlier?
I thought the last 2 games he had kind of slowed down a little bit. I thought he had struggled a little bit the last 2 games. So I was always planning to bring him into like a second half game because he does really well coming off the bench. It's how the role he's played here for the past 2 years. He got thrust into the starting spot. But, at the same time, I had Manu back. And so, the question is, who would he sub into? I also had Mikel back. But again, I thought that, overall, there was just, again, these are all players coming off of injuries, and these are players that, you kind of don't know what you're going to get. In retrospect, you could have probably brought in Philip a little bit sooner. But, again, I didn't think Manu played bad at all tonight. I didn't think that there was anything he did wrong necessarily. The issue we had was just our decision-making up the field. And then, of course, the two defensive, I mean, you said it. I mean, a forward turns and faces forward and shoots. And they did it twice, and, you know, that's the game.
Yeah, I thought, I mean, like you said, the patience on offense, yeah, everything was too fast, too quick, and it's not, you know, spreading the defense. So.
Yeah, and that's been one of our hallmarks all season, has been our ability to stamp the game and stay on top of it. I thought the moment might have gotten a little bit bigger for us. Maybe, you know, we fell behind and got too anxious and didn't relax enough and say, hey, we're okay. We're going to get our chances. We got the second half. You know, and I thought if you look at their best opportunities, it still came off of us not getting to a second ball, you know. And so, in all fairness to our back line, you know, those instances where Goodman got the ball up front, there should have been 2 or 3 of us around them. But we weren't, you know, we were kind of posted up 1v1 almost. So.
One more question.
Yes.
Coach, I know this game didn't turn out the way you guys wanted it to, but what can you just say about how hard your guys have worked, not only in this game, but throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of frustration because I thought this was one of the best soccer playing teams I've coached in a long time. I think there's something to be said about, you know, playing 18, 20 games in a 3-month season. You know, and it's really, really hard to maintain that level of play and intensity through the whole course of the season. And then you have to, towards the end of the year, you have to balance staying sharp versus just letting the guys off for 2 days. And so in terms of, you know, again, we played some great games. We played some really good soccer. We did a lot of really good things. Alexis had a crazy good season. So there's a lot of those positives. The negative is the fact that we just couldn't put our best team on the field for 18 games. And so we got stuck in conference having to figure out game to game. And our conference is kind of hard. It's hard to play at Cal Poly or against Cal Poly, period. It's hard to play at Riverside. It's hard to play at Sac State. And those are games that you kind of need your best team to get out of, and we didn't get out of it. And then tonight, like I said, I was hopeful that with our guys back tonight, we might be able to get going again, but we didn't do it. So.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, guys.